different kind of look at life. There are many different roads and many different curves. Some are cliffs and some are straight roads. And it's a question of how you deal.
Royal tensions are reaching a boiling point as Prince Andrew has stunned Sarah Ferguson with a sudden, daring demand following her recent public humiliation. Palace insiders warn that disputes are escalating and hidden dramas behind royal walls are coming to light. But what drove Andrew to act while Sarah was still furious? And what secret conflicts are fueling this explosive clash? Their story began like a fairy tale no one expected. Sarah first met Andrew at just 12 years old, yet their romance truly sparked in 1985 when Princess Diana invited her to Royal Ascot. Within 6 months of that reunion, the couple announced their engagement, delighting a British public charmed by Sarah's down-to-earth personality. Their wedding on July 23, 1986, at Westminster Abbey was a spectacular royal affair, which Sarah later described as her Cinderella moment, recalling the nerves she felt descending the stairs of Clarence House while crowds cheered Fergie. Fergie, in the streets below, riding to the Abbey in a glass coach with her father, both admitted to feeling unsure about the grand event ahead. Millions watched the ceremony, during which Sarah became the Duchess of York, bestowed by Queen Elizabeth II. The early years of their marriage seemed idyllic, with the couple welcoming 2 daughters, Princess Beatrice in 1988 and Princess Eugenie in 1990. Yet behind palace walls, cracks were emerging. Andrew's naval career often kept him away from home for months, and Sarah later cited these absences as a major factor in their separation, noting that they spent only 40 days together during their first year of marriage. Despite the growing distance, they tried to maintain a united front for their daughters. Meanwhile, a more troubling connection developed. Their friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, a wealthy businessman later convicted of crimes involving a minor. Initially appearing as a typical social connection, it eventually revealed deep and troubling financial ties. In 2011, Sarah publicly apologized for accepting £15,000 from Epstein to pay off her former assistant, calling it a grave error in judgment and vowing never to associate with him again. Yet leaked emails from the same year revealed she reached out to Epstein afterward, describing him as a steadfast, generous, and supreme friend. When these emails surfaced in September 2025, they contradicted her public apology, sparking outrage and prompting multiple charities, including Julia's House, to sever ties with her. A spokesperson claimed the correspondence followed threats from Epstein, but the explanation did little to quell public anger. The scandal also implicated Andrew, as leaked communications suggested he was still interacting with Epstein in 2011, fueling ongoing controversy and intensifying the pressures behind the royal family's already strained relationships. Despite Prince Andrew's public claims that he had severed ties with Jeffrey Epstein in late 2010, the Epstein revelations were devastating on their own, and they were soon eclipsed by an even more explosive accusation that would threaten Andrew's entire position. Within the royal family, Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's victims, came forward with shocking claims that Andrew had assaulted her 3 times in the early 2000s, when she was just 17 and being trafficked by Epstein. Andrew vehemently denied all allegations, insisting they were false, but the scandal caused irreparable damage to his reputation, eroding public trust and forcing him to step back from royal duties in 2019. In 2021, Giuffre filed a civil lawsuit against Andrew in the United States, drawing global attention and putting the British royal family under intense scrutiny. The lawsuit contained detailed and graphic allegations of abuse, prompting Andrew's legal team to attempt to dismiss the case before trial. After months of legal wrangling and relentless publicity, Andrew reached an out-of-court settlement with Giuffre in 2022. While he maintained that the settlement did not constitute an admission of guilt or liability, reports suggested the financial terms were substantial enough to satisfy her legal team. For a time, it seemed the worst might be behind Andrew and Sarah, who continued their unusual living arrangement at Royal Lodge, hoping the public might eventually move on. However, in 2025, Virginia's posthumous memoir, Nobody's Girl, was published following her tragic death at the age of 41 on April 25th, reigniting public attention on the scandal. The publication of Virginia Giuffre's posthumous memoir reignited the scandal, bringing fresh details of her allegations against Prince Andrew and making it impossible for King Charles to shield his younger brother from consequences. The timing was disastrous, as new revelations about Andrew and Sarah's connections to Jeffrey Epstein were also emerging. While Andrew struggled with the legal and reputational fallout from Giuffre's accusations, his ex-wife faced her own battle to preserve her public image and royal standing. For nearly 4 decades, Sarah Ferguson had defined herself through her royal title, Duchess of York, granted by Queen Elizabeth II on her wedding day and retained even after her 1996 divorce. The title shaped her public persona, enabled her charitable work, and gave her a sense of purpose that extended beyond her marriage. But on October 17, 2025, when Andrew announced he would no longer use his Duke of York title amid ongoing accusations, Sarah confronted an impossible dilemma regarding her own identity. Just 4 days later, she updated her social media accounts to remove all references to the title, changing her Twitter handle from Sarah the Duchess to @Sarah M. Fergie 15. Royal commentator Jonathan Sullivan described the loss as devastating, emphasizing that Sarah's sense of self had been deeply tied to the Duchess of York title, and that losing it left her emotionally shattered. Sources close to Sarah Ferguson confirmed that she was utterly bereft and on edge, deeply shaken by the uncertainty of her future. The psychological impact of losing her royal safety net manifested in visible ways, even alarming those who had previously criticized her behavior. British broadcaster Helena Chard told Fox News Digital that Sarah's nerves were frayed as she faced the prospect of being completely cut off from the royal family that had defined her adult life. Her older sister, Jane, even flew in from Australia to provide emotional support during this difficult period, and insiders reported that Sarah was on the verge of a nervous breakdown as the full weight of her situation became clear. The woman who once rode in a glass coach to Westminster Abbey now faced the possibility of total social and financial isolation. Meanwhile, King Charles was preparing to take unprecedented action against his younger brother. In October 2025, Charles initiated the formal process to strip Prince Andrew of his royal titles, style, and honours, meaning he would no longer be addressed as Prince Andrew, but simply as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Buckingham Palace described the move as a historic decision, shocking even long-time royal observers, because while titles like Duke or Earl could traditionally be relinquished, the title of Prince had always been considered an intrinsic part of one's royal identity. By removing Andrew's princely title, King Charles sent a clear and unprecedented statement about accountability and the seriousness of the ongoing scandals. Prince Andrew's ties to the Epstein scandal had become so damaging that they threatened the entire royal family, leaving King Charles with little choice but to act decisively. Royal experts agreed that the king had been driven by mounting public pressure and the looming threat of parliamentary intervention if the family failed to police itself. Buckingham Palace's statement addressed Andrew's residence at Royal Lodge, noting that while his lease had provided legal protection to remain in the home, that safeguard would soon expire. The palace also announced it would no longer speak on Andrew's behalf, effectively ending his role as a working royal and stripping him of any official duties. For Andrew, this marked the culmination of a long and steep fall from grace. Once minor scandals had escalated over the years into a near-total loss of reputation and respect, leaving him without status or influence within the monarchy. Amid this public humiliation, the battle over his beloved Royal Lodge reached a dramatic climax. The 30-room house had been Andrew's sanctuary for more than 2 decades, secured by a 75-year lease he signed in 2003, for which he paid £1 million and contributed £7.5 million in renovations. As talks with palace officials began about vacating the property in October 2025, Andrew and Sarah Ferguson made demands that stunned insiders. Andrew insisted he would only leave Royal Lodge if he were granted Frogmore Cottage, formerly the home of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, while Sarah requested Adelaide Cottage, soon to be vacated by Prince William and Kate Middleton. In other words, the couple was demanding not 1 but 2 royal residences, one for each of them, in exchange for relinquishing the single property they had long shared. The audacity of these requests, especially given Andrew's diminished standing within the royal family, left observers astonished and underscored the desperate lengths the former Duke and Duchess were willing to go to maintain some semblance of their former lives. Many observers had long suspected that Andrew and Sarah were out of touch with reality and public sentiment. Royal expert Richard Fitzwilliams told the Daily Mail that the couple seemed to be living in a weird fantasy world if they believed their demands for additional royal residences would be taken seriously, pointing out that Sarah had not been a working royal since 1996 and questioning why the Crown Estate should provide her with any accommodation at all. Royal commentator Jenny Bond was even more direct, telling the Mirror that the couple appeared deaf to public outrage over their lies regarding their Epstein connections. Behind the walls of Royal Lodge, the pressure had begun to fracture Andrew and Sarah's nearly 30-year post-divorce bond. Insiders reported that the couple was living increasingly separate lives within the sprawling house, only coming together for tense meals focused on their uncertain futures. The friendship and mutual support that had sustained their unusual arrangement had evaporated, replaced by anxiety, blame, and a dark sense that their relationship was finally unraveling. Sarah, in particular, was described as panicking over what would come next, struggling with the emotional toll of losing her title, patronages, public standing, and now potentially her home. Royal biographer Phil Dampier told Women's Day that Sarah was on the edge of a nervous breakdown, prompting her older sister Jane to fly in from Australia to provide support. Once proud of their status as the happiest divorced couple in the world, they now faced isolation from each other, with conversations reduced to grim discussions over meals about bleak options and impending humiliation. The situation worsened further when Andrew reportedly made a shocking request that Sarah be kept away from him during their final days at Royal Lodge, leaving her feeling even more isolated, angry, and betrayed than she already was, intensifying the emotional strain of their collapse under public and private pressure. Andrew's shocking demand that Sarah be kept away from him marked a dramatic reversal for a couple who had maintained an unusually close post-divorce relationship for nearly 30 years and suggested that he partially blamed her for the scandal that had upended both their lives. Insiders indicated that Andrew's anger was fueled by Sarah's past connection to Jeffrey Epstein, which had drawn additional negative attention on them both, compounding an already disastrous situation. While Andrew's own friendship with Epstein had been the initial focus, the leak of Sarah's old emails, where she described Epstein as a steadfast, generous, and supreme friend, gave critics further reason to attack the couple and emphasized that neither could claim ignorance about his character. Some insiders suggested Andrew saw Sarah's continued ties to Epstein in 2011 as the original mistake that set off their current troubles, overlooking the fact that he himself had maintained a relationship with Epstein during the same period, making his resentment seem both unfair and one-sided. For Sarah, the demand was a deeply personal rejection at a time when she most needed solidarity, exposing the fragility of even their most enduring connection. British royal expert Hilary Fordwich told Fox News Digital that Sarah had made it clear to staff and associates that she no longer trusted Andrew and was preparing to go her own way after years of loyalty and public defense of her ex-husband. Royal commentator Jenny Bond added to the Mirror that the couple, once inseparable despite their divorce, now appeared to be going their separate ways entirely. Amid this turmoil, speculation arose about Sarah's future, with reports suggesting she planned a dramatic escape to Portugal, seeking distance from the British press and the scandals consuming her life. Sources indicated that she intended to move in January to a £3.6 million oceanfront villa near Lisbon, owned by Princess Eugenie and her husband, in the exclusive Costa Golf and Ocean Club, providing privacy and a chance to rebuild her life far from the public eye. Preparations were reportedly underway for Sarah Ferguson's potential move to Portugal, with a wealthy resident of the gated community telling the Express that a guest suite was being readied for her extended stay, suggesting a semi-permanent relocation aimed at rebuilding her life away from constant public scrutiny. The move would also allow her to remain close to Princess Eugenie while maintaining independence and dignity, free from the baggage of her decades-long royal connections. However, sources close to Sarah insisted to People magazine that she had never requested a royal property for herself, and that her focus was on independence rather than privilege, indicating that even she might not be fully certain of her next steps. Meanwhile, Andrew faced his own relocation, marking the final chapter of his fall from grace. Reports suggest he will move to a modest property on the Sandringham estate, far removed from the grandeur of the 30-room Royal Lodge he had called home for over 20 years. Unlike Royal Lodge, his new accommodations will be privately funded by King Charles, stripped of symbolism and extravagance, signaling his permanent exile from the life of privilege he once enjoyed. The move also ends Andrew and Sarah's unusual 17-year post-divorce cohabitation, placing them far apart and making any reconciliation even more unlikely. Royal experts believe Charles chose Sandringham deliberately to distance Andrew from the Windsor area, where Prince William, Kate, and their children are settling, and he will not participate in the royal family's Christmas celebrations, with Sarah absent as well. This final reshuffling underscores the irreversible consequences of their scandals and raises questions about accountability, public perception, and whether the couple's punishments fit the gravity of their actions, leaving a permanent mark on both their personal lives and the modern monarchy.